So we talked to a bunch of defensive tackles and defensive line coach Larry Johnson as Ohio State continues to prepare for the 2025 season. Defensive tackle depth has been the topic of conversation for 9 months now. It feels like they've got a strong starting two in Edric Houston and Caden McDonald, and then behind them a bunch of question marks. And then on the first day of practice, Edric Houston goes down with a knee injury, and it's like, yeah, well, the hypothetical is now real. They need to figure out the defensive tackle depth over the next 30 days. We have now talked to people about the defensive tackle depth. Andrew, I want to start with you. Do you feel better, the same, or worse about where Ohio State's defensive tackle depth is 2 weeks before they play their first game?
I feel the same, but that doesn't mean it's not a bad thing, right? I hope I said that right. Like, you talk about Ohio State's defensive tackle depth, and for the last couple of months, we had been saying, you need somebody to step up, right? Like, you need some help there. And then obviously we have the Edric injury. He was adamant. I was over at his table. He was adamant. I'll be ready for week one. I'll be ready for week one. I'll be ready for week one. I think he said that like 3 or 4 times when people were asking him how he was feeling, how he was rehabbing, what it's been like at practice. He just maintained that he was going to be ready for that Texas game. Even if you can assume 100% health with Edric Houston, which I don't know if that's possible right now. I don't know if you can assume that. I think it's 100%, an option that he is 100% healthy. I don't know if that's a certainty right now. You have Edric, again, who says he'll be ready and to be determined. And then you have Caden McDonald, who people have raved about. And then we're hearing good things about Will Smith Jr. We talked to the offensive linemen a few days ago, and a couple of them were talking about Will Smith Jr. really kind of taking a step. But you still have questions about it because you feel good about Edric, you feel good about Caden, and there has been nothing that has really kind of moved me off of this. I don't know what this defensive tackle room is going to look like right now. Now, when they play Texas on August 30th, I think we're going to get a lot of, good information about how Larry Johnson and Matt Patricia view this defensive line. How much are they rotating? Who plays where? Are they, unique with their fronts? There's so much to learn here. And I just don't think I've really changed my opinion of I don't know what this is going to look like. And I think the starting tandem is going to be awesome. Edric and Caden might be the best defensive tackle tandem in the Big Ten. I don't know what it looks like after that. And nothing that was said today by Larry Johnson, by any of the defensive linemen, by any of the offensive linemen, by Ryan Day in these last couple of days and weeks, nothing has really moved me to I should not be concerned about this. Ohio State fans should not be concerned about this. Ohio State fans should not have questions about what this front four is going to look like, especially a defensive tackle.
Better the same or the worse, Stefan?
I think I actually feel a little bit better. I think Larry Johnson got asked pretty straight up about this narrative that has existed that we've been a part of about the lack of depth at defensive tackle. And he kind of spun it in a way of like, you guys keep saying lack of depth, and maybe it's actually just lack of experience. Because how much last year were we going to see of Tywone Malone or Will Smith or whoever it may be if Tyleek and Ty Hamilton were both still there? Because behind them is Caden McDonald and Edric Houston. And how many times does a team that wins a national championship have to go 5 deep, 6 deep at tackle to beat Tennessee, Oregon, Texas, and Notre Dame, right? Like, you're not going 6 deep in games like that at defensive tackle. So when he presented it that way, I am more open to the idea of Caden McDonald and Edric Houston are going to be what we think they can be. And just because we haven't seen Tywone Malone, just because we haven't seen Will Smith Jr. or Jason Moore or Eric Mensah, doesn't mean that they can't eventually get to where they need to be. And I'm more open to this idea of when we get to Texas week that a guy like Tywone Malone maybe makes an important play at some point in the game. We go, oh yeah, that guy's been talented. We know he's talented. Oh, Eric Mensah, we know that guy's talented. We know he can do it. He was just number 5, number 6, number 7 on the depth chart last year because Ty decided to come back. Right, so like I feel a little bit better because Larry Johnson was ready for that question. He felt prepared for that question in the sense of, you guys keep saying this, why don't you ever present it this way? Of maybe these guys are just inexperienced, maybe we haven't seen them. Now that's tough because Texas is that first opponent, right? And you're being thrown into the fire. But ultimately, the goal for Ohio State is to win a national championship. Ultimately, the goal for Ohio State is to be at their best 16 games into the season. Well, by that point, those guys are going to have a decent amount of experience, right? And at that point, can they be somewhat close to what Caden McDonald and Edric Houston were last year? So I feel a little bit better. I feel a bit more at ease about what these guys can do just because we've said it. And maybe we need to start believing it a bit more of like, they are very talented. And now they're going to have opportunities to show that.
I feel worse for Texas.
Yeah.
better for the
I love
for
that
the
we
season.
have better, the same, and worse.
I feel worse for week one. I feel
Okay.
better for the overarching part of the season. You just said something. How often are you going 6 deep in the run they had in the college football playoff? I mean, if they could, they would have. That's kind of the point, though. If we saw it last year when Tylee got hurt a little bit and it just didn't look good. If they had the option to play more guys, they would have played more guys. We saw that cornerback, Jermaine Matthews, played last year along that group. I think you're right. Larry Johnson did do a good job of explaining this is not a lack of talent or a lack of bodies, it's a lack of experience. He even brought up the fact that part of the reason there is a lack of experience is the offense played less plays last year. They slowed things down, which we've explored and talked about. So because of that, there's also less plays on defense because the games are a little bit shorter. So instead of there being 75 plays available, there's 67 plays available, and your starters are playing 50 of those, 55 of those. We've seen games, Andrew, over the last 2 years where Jack and JT did not come off the field at defensive end. Mike Hall and Tyleek Williams and Ty Hamilton did not come off the field at defensive tackle. That could be at play in this situation. So it makes sense why they're saying those things. But it's not just about the depth for me. I know we're saying that Edric and Caden are going to be very good. And Caden talked about his diet and the way he's prepared himself to do what Ty and Tyleek spent the last 2 years doing, and that's playing a lot of more snaps. Slim Mac is the name he used. So I asked Larry Johnson about that. What have you seen from those two guys that lets you know they are ready to go from 15 snaps to 50? And he didn't give they're ready for that. He gave we want to have 6 guys who can play 20 to 25 snaps. Now, he did come back later and say Caden McDonald, they'd like to see that 30 to 35 because he's a starter, and I'm assuming it's the same for Edric, somewhere between 30 and 40 snaps. But they're trying to replace 4 guys in the aggregate and not just going, oh, it's okay, we've got this 5-star, we turned into a defensive tackle, this kid from Georgia who's in year 3 and ready to go, plus all these defensive ends. They're talking about the overwhelming room needs to be more ready because regardless of how good you think Caden McDonald and Education are going to be, it is not a fair expectation to go week 1 against that opponent, Education's going to have 4 sacks. Yes. That's not a fair expectation to have. Caden McDonald is going to have 6 tackles for loss, and Texas is not going to be able to run the ball at the middle. That's not a fair expectation. That's a pleasant surprise if it happens. So because of that, for week 1, I am a little more concerned because that's a lot of guys where no matter who you throw out there, this is the first time they've been in that role, and all it takes is one mistake to cost you a game like that. But I do agree the overwhelming of the season, whatever happens in this game, games 2 through 12, I feel better about where it will be by the time it plays Penn State, by the time it plays Illinois, by the time it plays Michigan, by the time we get to the college football playoff. But in week 1, I'm more concerned because I didn't think about that. I just essentially said Edric and K-Mac are going to be good. Can anybody join them? It's like, no, they're doing something new as well. And they have to learn how to do that on the fly, just like everybody else on this defense. It's 614-350-3315. It's a 2-week free trial. Go listen to Buckeye Talk wherever you find podcasts. We'll continue to have this conversation. Defensive line is probably the biggest question mark at this point about Ohio State football, and they've got about 2.5 weeks to figure it out here before Texas comes to town. I'm Steven, that's Stefan, and that's Andrew. See ya.